And before Sergi starts sharing his screen, one thing I just want to let everybody know is that we're going to go ahead and go through this live presentation this evening, again, on the Erickson Trunk Sewer and Water Improvement Program or project. And then down below, you'll see a ribbon that has Q&A, a chat feature, and then also the ability to raise your hand. At the end of the presentation, we will go through these different questions, and then Sergi, Chetamir, and or Eduardo will be able to answer those questions. And Sergi, can you go ahead and share the PowerPoint for me, please? I think you're muted.
Is it still not showing?
It's not showing yet.
Okay, I will.
So I'll go ahead and introduce the project team here. So we have Sergi Deshnik, who is with the city of Beaverton and the project manager on the project. We also have, great, I'm starting to see your screen now.
Thank you, good.
Go ahead and put that in yes, slide mode. Perfect, great, thank you, great job. And then we have Eduardo Rojas Roman, who is also a project coordinator with the city of Beaverton on this project. And our consultant, Chetamir Jessic, who is with Cardno, and he's the project manager on this project as well. And again, thank you for being here this evening to go through Erickson Trunk Sewer and Water System Improvement Project Phase 2. So tonight, through the agenda, we already went through some of the introductions. Thank you for being here, everybody. And so we'll do a brief project overview of the entire project. We'll also talk a little bit about Phase 1, but mostly Phase 2. Phase 1 did have an open house back in January, early January of this year. And then Phase 2 alignment. We'll talk a little bit about, I know everyone's wondering sometimes what happens with the trees and some of the shrubs and that sort of thing. So we'll talk a little bit about that. The project schedule, when construction is to begin and end, and then we'll have a Q&A session to follow. So with that, I think we can go ahead and dive right into the brief project overview. Go ahead, Sergi.
Thank you, Stacy. Like Stacy said, I'd like to welcome everyone, and thanks for taking time out of your busy schedules to participate in this open house and get yourself familiarized with the project in your area. For the project overview and overall scope of the presentation, I will start, and then I'll also involve Chetamir Jessic. He's with Cardno, the engineer of record. So we will work as a team on that. But to start out, this project, entire project, as many of you are aware of, it used to be one big project, one CIP, and then several months back, we split it up into 2 phases, and it consists of replacing the 15-inch existing sewer pipe with 18-inch primarily, and then 21-inch sewer pipe. This pipe upsize will provide additional flow capacity, operation access, and reliability. And the Erickson trunk sewer main will be upsized to accommodate really the necessary flows. There's a lot of flows in this 15-inch pipe that at times travels at the full level. And one big thing of this trunk sewer is the alignment will remove, the new alignment will remove the trunk sewer from the creek area and improve maintenance. And this is particularly in the Central Parks condos property. And this overall project, there's water mains as well to be upgraded, service lines, water meters, and all those items. So that's the general one. I will go into detail about Phase 1 and Phase 2, but this is essentially what we're looking at. Don't know if you can see the entire, I guess I can scroll, but here is the layout of the 2 phases. You have Phase 1, Phase 2. So Phase 1 is actually the south piece. Sewer flows this way. This is just the general area. This by no means is the exact the exact location of the sewer and water work, but this gives you the project scope of the area. From Allen, there's Dale right here. And then there will be some work here in Allen. We're currently under construction for phase 1. We have already installed sewer pipe from 10th Avenue right here into Stott, through the properties into Tara Lynn, and then down Tara Lynn. We're right around here right now, so it's moving fairly successful. There's a lot of work involved. The contractor, Emery and Sons, is doing a great job. And then phase 2 is this portion here. We have the Beaverton Lodge. We have the pedestrian pathway kind of travels right there. And then Central Park condos are in this area. There will also be water work here, but I will go on to the next slide and we'll get some more information. But for the phase 1 that we are currently working on, from 10th Street down to Allen Boulevard, roughly just under 1,600 lineal feet of sewer construction. And that was from Dale Allen up to 10th Street. And then approximately 930 lineal feet of waterline construction in Tara Lynn Avenue. The construction began this summer in August, and the estimate is to be completed late fall, early winter. Some reasons why we wanted to split up the 2 phases: the waterline condition in Tara Lynn Avenue. And I will go right back up to the previous slide. Here is Tara Lynn Avenue. The waterline condition was very poor, and it was already postponed a couple years due to other unforeseen circumstances. So we really needed to speed up and replace the water line for this neighborhood. So we went ahead and split up the main sewer project into 2 phases. So we can start with phase 1, include the water work, and then in addition, figure out the exact alignment of phase 2. We needed to obtain additional easements, and other work was necessary. So that was the reason to split up the 2 phases, and construction's coming along good. We'll go on to the next slide here. For phase 2, and this phase, as you saw, it will be both sewer and waterline construction from 10th Street to up to 5th and Erickson Avenue. And primarily, the sewer will run through Beaverton Lodge, the condos, 5th Street, and then there will be a repavement of the pedestrian pathway between Beaverton Lodge, Central condos, and then the houses. There's a pedestrian walkway, and we'll show you some photos of that as well. And as well, a big portion is waterline replacement in Erickson Avenue. Once again, the water system is in poor condition there. A couple just kind of bigger scale things I'd like to mention, and I will go back just to this general slide so you can look at the general area. Some things I think would be important to just note: there's approximately 4,000 lineal feet of total sewer replacement. That's for both phases. And the existing pipe we mentioned was undersized. Who's paying for it? That's an important piece. It's actually funded by Clean Water Services, since it is a trunk sewer, and then City of Beaverton is the managing agency for this project. The total cost will be in the realms of $4+ million. Phase 1 was $1.4 million, and that included both the sewer and the water work. So phase 1 right here was $1.4 million, and this estimate would be around $3 million for both the sewer work and then the water work down here. With that, as I mentioned, there will be repavement of the pathway, and then the any ADA ramps that will need to be corrected and improved upon. So with that, here's another map. Came out a little blurry. So but I think you can see the general idea. Here's 10th Street, and this is the approximate. So right now what we're going to do is really focus on phase 2, and we want to walk through where the 60% alignment is proposed. So there's 10th Street right here, and we have some more photos, but it'll run through Beaverton Lodge parking. That's this stretch right here, and then it'll go through the central condos paved parking area, drive aisle. There's a few other sewer main pieces in the thinner red color. And why we're showing this is, you know, we understand this is a really valued walkway here, the pedestrian pathway. And we wanted just to work with neighboring property owners and get any input and really share what we're doing, because we're definitely trying to do what we can to minimize any tree removal. And we'll kind of walk through the specifics of what is proposed. So here's a map. What about the trees? So just to familiarize ourselves with the area, we have 10th Street down here. Beaverton Lodge retirement community is right here. We have the Central Parks, 5th Street right here. And then we have the pedestrian pathway is right here. Due to scale, it's hard to see everything and the trees, but the pathway is more like right here. So the plan is, and I'll show you, there's a little legend here. So trees to be removed, the black circles are ones that are proposed to be removed. And I wanted to highlight that the only trees that we are even considering moving or really need to move are the ones that are directly in line with the sewer alignment. We are trying to minimize that as much as possible. And some of them, there's just no way around them because they were planted either directly over existing sewer line or right next to a manhole. And per the easements that we have, any object installed above a sewer line is in the way if the city ever needs to go back and do any work. There's a hedge down here, like a shrubbery growing, that we are going to do what we can to protect it. The plan is to do a pipe burst from 10th Street and then through Beaverton Lodge. That way we can avoid removing unnecessary tree and hedge. The red here is the sewer line, just to give you an understanding of what's where. Then we'll go on to the next slide. We may have to come back to this a few times. So here's looking at the project north or south to north. So north is true north and then south is here. This is the northern section and this is the one more south as the Beaverton Lodge is further south. This is just another way to look at it with the same information that we saw. So I'll go ahead and, can everybody see the screen well, Stacy? Or is the entire slide showing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry, I was giving you a thumbs up, but you couldn't
that's
see
fine.
me.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about that.
So just to give an idea of what we're looking at, the first trees that are proposed to be removed are the ones between really Central Parks and Beaverton Lodge. And this is just to give you guys an idea of what is involved. There's an existing manhole right about here where there's the Home Depot bucket. And for those who have experience with construction, there's really no way that we can remove a manhole and do the construction without removing the trees. So these 3 trees on the property of Beaverton Lodge will have to come out. With me mentioning that, I do want to say that with every tree removal that we have, there will be a new tree plan proposed where the city would look at new locations on the property or nearby properties that we can replant the trees. And it's a general rule of thumb from the planning department is 1 inch for 1 inch. So if it's a 10-inch tree, then there would likely be 5 2-inch caliper trees planted. So that's just, I wanted to mention that. We're definitely, the only thing we would even consider moving is if it's directly in line of the construction of the project. But this location here are the 3 trees on the edge of Beaverton Lodge, between Beaverton Lodge and Central Parks. So this is the photo. This next photo down here is the fence. There's a fence line right here between Beaverton Lodge and Central Parks. And because we're planning to take the sewer through here on my upper right-hand side screen, through here, there's a tree right there that we had looked at with the arborist, and it's this tree right here that is actually diseased as well as unfavorable for this property, the way it's sloped to this property owner that we spoke with. But that one will clearly need to come out so that we can extend the sewer line through the paved pathway. So there's that. I think that's the next, yeah. So then the next slide, as we move down Central Park condos, there's 2 trees down here and then 2 over here. So as we're going to be taking the sewer down, the sewer goes directly here under the trees. So these 2 trees will need to come out, and then 2 more trees will be putting in a new manhole. So there's 2 more trees that will need to be removed, and that's between these buildings at the Central Parks. One example we wanted to show of a tree that we are actually going to totally bypass and we're going to bore under. This is considered a significant grove in the city of Beaverton. And what we're actually planning to do, as you see it here in the magenta color, is we're actually going to do a pipe boring construction method where we're going to go from right around where my mouse is down here and then bore under and go on to the manhole that's on the other side of it. The diagram we have of the sewer is approximate, so it's not quite where the sewer is going to go, but we're up to here. We're going to be going through the drive aisle, and then we'll have a manhole and then bore under to avoid any of the roots. So we're going to protect, we want to protect this big tree right there. And I don't have the list in front of me of all the tree names, so my apologies. I'd rather not guess all of the names of the trees that we looked at. Next slide. And really the other trees that will need to be removed, this is on the west side of the Central Parks Condo Association. This is roughly where the creek is. And we're going to be running a smaller main line through there so we can serve some of the properties that will not be able to be served by the new trunk line location that I just showed along the drive aisle near the pathway. So some of the services still need to go through here. So what we're doing is the 60% design will require some of these trees to be removed just for construction purposes. And then once again, we will be replanting accordingly. So potentially these 2 here that are like really 3 trees in one. And then there's a couple more that may need to be removed just depending on what we decide to do in the construction. So that right there kind of in a nutshell summarizes the main trees that are looking to be removed. Roughly 5 trees on the west side of the condos. The trees that we showed, I think there's about 13 total. These are right now at the 60%. So I did want to mention that. And if there are any changes or anything unusual, we will try to communicate that to the best of our ability. But I just wanted to show the nature of where the sewer alignment is, and then just in order to do construction, the necessity to remove some of them. For the project schedule, and actually before I get into the project schedule, I'd like to open it up really to Chetamir, if you wanted to chime in, our engineer of record, if there's anything you would like to add in addition to what I've already said. Please step in.
I guess I would just add is that there's a main trunk line which is being relocated out of the essentially stream corridor, and then we're having to downsize the sewer main within the condo. We can't just leave it as is. It would be too big for the sewer flows, and it wouldn't work and would become a big maintenance problem. So some of that sewer is being rebuilt in order to essentially accommodate smaller flows in order for this thing to work.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it. I think, Sergi, you covered everything pretty well.
Thank you, Chetamir. So for the schedule, as mentioned earlier, phase one, construction to be completed. We mentioned earlier in fall, really early winter, late fall is the plan. I will add that, as you all are aware of these interesting times that we're living in, we also had a 2-week period recently here with the smoke and the wildfires. So that really extended the construction 2 weeks. Really as an act of God for the contractor due to weather. So for that, there's roughly 2 weeks, and that's where we're kind of going to be transitioning late fall, early winter possibly, for the completion of phase one. That's from 10th Street to Dale Allen. Phase two, the design we're working on right now with Cardno. They just submitted the 60% last week, and the plan is to work through the design this fall, early winter, go to bid. And then once we go out to bid, the construction, as you saw that we're in the creek, the water level is pretty high here. We would like to do the construction as much as we can during the dry season. So roughly spring through fall is the plan for that. For contact information, myself, Sergi Dezhnik, there's my email address. Eduardo is the engineering associate or project coordinator helping out on this project. His email is provided there as well, especially for any Spanish-speaking residents. And then Stacy Rive, who did the introductions in the beginning, is our associate transportation planner. And I would really say if you have any general questions, could be, just whatever you think of, you could feel free to direct initially the questions and outreach to her as well. And then she can provide you an answer. And so that's another resource. And with that, I would like to just open it up to the Q&A questions. Any questions that are coming in, we can take some time for that. We will try to be as helpful as we can. If we have an answer, if not, we may need to document it and we can try to get back to you as well. And yeah, I appreciate all of your attention and patience as we are going through the design, and even as we've been working in the area. I know traffic control, there's been a lot of inconveniences. Contractors have been doing the best they can to move traffic through and try to keep it all in order, but we'll go ahead and open it up for any questions. And I also want to just ask for your patience as we're navigating through this, as we haven't done too many of these live ones, so we will do our best to hear you.
Okay, thank you, Sergi. And again, Stacy Reve, City of Beaverton. If you have any general questions, my contact information is on the previous slide. And the one thing that this PowerPoint will also, and this live meeting will also be added to the web page. So again, that's Beaverton, Oregon /Erickson. And then the information will be there and any kind of updates that we have. So we do have one question that's coming in. Someone is asking, they're worried about the frost coming and will the water line freeze?
I assume these are the above ground temporary water lines. There shouldn't be any problems with frost. The water is circulating, and so
is this question for I'm assuming for Tara Lynn, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So with that, good point. I had actually spoken with our operations crew and the contractor, and we're planning to give out little just handouts on Friday. Asking, it should probably be fine, but just for extra safety measures, what we're going to ask the residents to do is just leave the water in one of their faucets running lightly in the evening. And if they can do that, we would greatly appreciate that. That should help minimize any kind of freezing that could happen. If it was going to be in the low 20s, then we would definitely have to make sure that happens. But right now, I think we're looking at upper 20s as the low, so right around 30 should be fine, but we will hand out that flyer this Friday.
Okay, great, thank you. We have another question here. The person says, hello, do you know if water sewer rates and prices are going to increase? They really hope not, and please stay safe and well.
I would not be the one to speak on that. Right now, because I would not be the one in charge of the sewer rates. If the question is asked specifically from this project, if that's going to increase, there's no increases just because of this project that's taking place.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Oh, here we go. Another question, when will the repaving of the walkway occur and will any trees or shrubs be affected?
So the repavement of the pathway there, the plan is to have it repaved with this project. Even though the sewer is not necessarily going to be in there, the plan is to have it repaved during phase 2. For the trees and shrubs, the ones that we showed are the proposed ones to be removed. So if they were not shown there, it is not planned to have any others removed. It will simply be removing the top lift and repaving it with a new one, a couple inches or so.
Okay. Another question, at the January open house, the plan was a partial water line replacement on Erickson between 5th and 10th. Is that still the case, or is a total replacement now intended?
From 5th to 10th, the entire stretch from 5th to 10th is proposed to be replaced.
Okay. Great. Next question, what plans are being considered for parking?
Parking where?
wait for the, Ted, if you could type in which parking are you asking about?
We can
Which
actually
areas?
go ahead and unmute Ted. So, oh, the Beaverton Lodge residents.
Well, we're going to be working with a property owners to come up with a plan that works. We're going to have essentially a pit by the entrance at the tent into the Beaverton Lodge, and then at the end. So there's always going to be an access. We're not planning really to impact that much parking at all. Maybe just in that location of the receiving pit, where maybe a few parking spaces would be kind of maybe potentially impacted there. We're working to develop those plans, but the goal is to minimize parking. As much as we can.
Okay, sounds good. There is a question in the chat, but there's also, I think they asked the same question here on the Q&A. So phase 1 seemed to use 10th Street as a staging area, piles of materials and equipment, etc. Where will they be staging equipment for phase 2?
That's a good question. Offhand, I don't know. That usually is the contractor when they get on board, and it will actually go through a separate bid. So don't know who the contractor will be. So that's something they will have to come up with. And I will say, we understand, and once again want to reiterate how much we appreciate you all working with the city and the contractors to get this project done. There's not that much room in all that really in this entire neighborhood, as a lot of the street is used for street parking. When the new contractor gets on board, they're gonna have to come up with a plan, and then as well as we run it by our traffic engineer for any approvals of any closures, staging areas. So my guess is, because it'll be from 10th to 5th, it'll be throughout different pockets there. But it'll really depend on what the contractor proposes. Chedimer, you have anything to add on that? Or?
No.
Okay. We have another question. I hear 60% plan. When will we know the proposal as stands will be approved?
Well, we're just working through the construction documents. It's all moving forward. 60% is just a submittal stage that city is giving us feedback on the plans. I think we're targeting to finish all of the design. Our goal is to try to get everything wrapped up in December to get it out to bid as soon as possible, so we can get better bid prices from the contractors.
And then to the residents, I do want to mention, because we will be, in December, approaching the holidays and Christmas and New Year's, realistically, it may not be until January or so when we go out to bid. So I don't want to.
Okay. Next question is, this question comes from Tara Lynn. What is the timeline for phase 1 to be finished?
The substantial completion date for this project was December 22nd. And with that, we had 2 weeks of the smoke. So the contractor was off work those days. So if it takes them that long, it'll be 2 weeks after December 22nd. Having said that, they could be done by then. So we will see how quick they work. They're definitely doing what they can, working hard there and quickly, and we'll just see which day that falls to. There is a the substantial completion date is what we wrote into the contract, but as the city, we just can't, that's just something we can't control when the actual date will be.
Okay. Regarding Area 4, at this point in the design, do you have an idea what type of construction will be used to install the new sewer line on the west side of the creek, i.e. horizontal boring versus excavation, or would that be the chosen contractor's choice?
I think this is, Sergi, I don't know if you have that exhibit, but that's the area off the 5th, I believe.
I can try to open it up again.
But I believe that area would be open trenching.
About this one right here?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't. You have to go look for a slide. Yeah, where's the? You have those blow-ups down below. I think it's area 4. Or you're removing trees. I think it's the. Keep going down.
Yeah,
keep going.
The last one.
Keep going.
This one.
Right here?
Yeah, again, so the question again is regarding Area 4. At this point in the design, do you have an idea what type of construction will be used to install the new sewer line on the west side of the creek, i.e. horizontal boring versus excavation?
The west side of the creek is going to be open trenching. Well, both sides will be open trenching. The only area that we're going to go bore is we're going to go bore underneath the creek to eliminate any permitting needs with the agencies.
Mm-hmm.
The reason being is we're having to adjust the grade of the line, and with that, we're having to lay a new line on a different grade. And we cannot accomplish that really with boring. I mean, we could, but it's going to be very expensive.
Okay. Are there any other questions? I don't have any other open questions at this time, but maybe we'll give folks just a second in case they do. Is there anything, Eduardo, Sergi, or Chetamir that you'd like to add while we're waiting, just in case there's a few more questions coming? These are all great, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Have all the necessary easements for phase 2 been established?
They're in the process of being worked on. So they have not been signed yet by the property owners, but we have a written agreement for the locations that we had asked for from the respective properties. So that's a great question, and that's really why we had peeled back without doing too much design work. So the next steps from the city are to obtain those easements so we can spend more time on the design.
Okay, thank you.
No, it's a great question.
Not a question, but thank you for all. Thank you all for taking the time to keep us up to date. Hey, you're welcome. Thank you for being here.
Very welcome.
Taking your evening to spend with us, but asking some really great questions too. And that's one reason why we're having these virtual open houses or platforms. Unfortunately, we can't do anything in person right now, but this is just another opportunity for folks in the neighborhood to really ask some good questions. And so we can kind of clarify anything that you may or may not know about the project. And again, there is a webpage, beavertonoregon.gov/Erickson, that you can learn more. And then this live recording will also be there if you wanted to listen to it again. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'd just like to repeat, I think I've said this earlier, but just once again, thank you all for, once again, your patience. We understand what inconvenience it could be when you have construction in front of your house, and just thank you all for being a good sport through this all. And then one thing that we're hoping for, of course, is within about a year's time, all of this will be done, and we'll have new sewers that are upsized, new water lines, and then everything will be restored. So that's really what we're shooting for, is about a year from now, maybe a little over, to have phase 2 completed as well.
Okay, and if there aren't any other questions, then we might go ahead and I think we're okay to close the meeting. It was so quick, and you all had such great questions. So unless there's a couple that filter in here, we'll probably go ahead and stop the recording very soon, and then we'll leave the meeting. So again, this is a recording live presentation, and you can watch it again at beavertonoregon.gov/Erickson at your leisure. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.